We are here from Event Minds, and we're going to speak to you about industry trends for 2021. My name's Dean. I am the partnership manager at Event Minds, so I look after all of our platform partners and as well as our commercial partners as well. And Ree is with us as well, who's our marketing manager.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for joining today. And so like Dean said, we're going to be talking about the industry trends of 2021. So I guess the best place to start is that the industry is growing. So although, you know, we're in the middle of a pandemic and the pandemic hit nearly a year ago, the industry is still growing. And the UK industry is actually now worth 39.1 billion, which is a crazy amount. And there's been a massive 3 billion jump since 2010, according to HBAA. So yeah, the industry is still growing. And I think if anything has taught us, if the pandemic's taught us anything in the last year, is that, you know, the events industry is strong and we are very resilient. So look, what trends can we expect to see from this year? So, you know, there's been so many trends happening in the last year, from TikTok to Clubhouse, which I'm sure you've all heard about, to virtual conferences. So yeah, we've definitely seen some trends, but what can we actually expect to see from the next year? Oh. So Dean, did you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, so experiential agendas it's something that we talk about quite regularly, and it's been shouted about for the entire time I've worked in events, for at least 15 years, and it's slowly getting stronger and stronger. So the Zoom burnout is a thing. No one wants to sit and look at just a presenter talking on a screen anymore. All of the virtual events from 2020 can say that they've struggled to keep people engaged for the duration of an event. If you're live and in person, you're in a venue, it's a lot harder for you to get up and leave. If you're sitting in front of your computer screen, it's really easy for you to just wander off and make a cup of tea or do other things while the event's on. So there's a few key trends that are going to start to increase engagement for virtual and hybrid and also in-person events at the end of this year, I think. So gamification is the main one. We've been talking about gamification for, again, about 10 years now, and live events have tried it in various ways with various kind of levels of success. But now that we've got technology catching up with our ideas, we can actually do gamification in much more interesting ways at live events and hybrid events as well. So you can use event apps to gamify moving around a venue. You can use event apps to have both online and in-person visitors competing against each other in various areas of gamification. And I mean, you can do things that are as simple as putting a trail on your floor plan that people need to follow to win a prize. If it's in a virtual environment, you can do things like virtual scavenger hunts. And I think rewarding people for engagement has proven, especially over the last 18 months, to be a really, really good way of keeping people engaged with your event for a longer period. So it's only going to get better and more inventive over the next kind of 12 to 18 months, I think. Artificial intelligence, Ree, do you want to have a...
Yeah, so very similar to that. I know you touched on engagement. Engagement's such a big, almost concern for virtual events, which I'm sure you're all aware of. So again, like it says there, polls, Q&As and networking, you know, we're all using this on virtual events. Why not try and introduce something new, artificial intelligence? So again, I'm sure you've heard of Fuzzy Brick, or we've recently tested another site, Mixed Reality Rooms, where you can literally have your own kind of Sims character and you can like wander around the room as if you're literally in person. So yeah, introduce things like gamification and artificial intelligence just to take your event to the next level. And I think we will definitely see kind of a spike in this year where, you know, people have concerns about engagement not being the same. So I think we can we can see this being introduced. And again, products before the event. I think a lot of event organizers with live events, you know, you typically send out maybe an event brochure, or at the event you'd give a goodie bag. This is things that I think are being forgotten with live events, which I think we'll definitely see again for this year, where why not think about sending your customers or your attendees some products before the event to make them feel engaged and make them feel involved. And very recently, I know that we were sent things just for speaking at an event. So little things like this can all improve the engagement. And I think we can definitely see, you know, an increase in this in the next year, especially where people are now thinking, you know, is live going to be back? Do we still need to try and boost our engagement with virtual? So yeah, and again, Zoom fatigue is definitely a thing. And I think people are trying to avoid this. You can see the image there. I think people are definitely trying to avoid this by mixing it up with new platforms. And again, just try and introduce new things, which I think we'll begin to see this year. So the second trend that we can expect to see is that live events will be returning. So I know it's, you know, it's an ongoing debate. Are they going to come back? Are people now settled with virtual? You know, is virtual still going to be a thing when live events come back? But I think no matter how long this pandemic lasts, eventually we can start to see it slipping through back into our lives this year. But then again, what does this mean for virtual and hybrid? So, you know, we've all got our tech stacks now. We've all got our organization roped into kind of organizing virtual and hybrid events. But there's no need to stop this. I think we'll definitely expect to see hybrid as an extension to live events. You know, they're convenient, they're sustainable, and cost-wise, they can be a lot less to live events. So again, I think we'll see that as an extension. And I just touched on sustainability. If you think back to when you might have organized live events, you typically stay in a hotel for a couple of nights, which is, you know, it's quite unnecessary. And also you would, you know, travel costs, carbon emissions. This doesn't need to happen if you can attend an event from your bedroom or your house. So I think people have definitely got used to the convenience of virtual events. You know, you can just sit there in your pajamas if you don't have your computer on. I think people are enjoying that aspect. So we'll definitely see them sticking around for this year. But I think live events will slowly start slipping back into our lives. What do you think, Dean?
I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think, so this year we're going to see live events start to be small in-person gatherings with large virtual audiences. And I think that will slowly start to pivot to around about 50-50 when we're able to have bigger gatherings. And then I think, hopefully, I'd like to think that we'd get around about 75% in person and 25% virtual towards the end of the year or the beginning of next year. And I think sustainability is a massive driver in that. I used to work on a sustainability portfolio of events, and it used to make me laugh that we were asking people to fly from New York to London to come to a sustainability event. So I think, you know, there's always people that are local and would like to do an in-person event, but why would you limit your audience by not offering a hybrid option? And I think this year has shown some of the old guard event companies that it's possible. You can do virtual and you can do hybrid and you can be successful with it. So yes, hybrid events will be the buzzword of 2021, I think, and then that's just going to become your digital offering. No one will talk about hybrid or virtual anymore. It will just be events which will expect it to have in-person and digital offerings.
Yeah, and if you're an event organizer listening and you know you don't have anything in the scope for hybrid, look into it. It's so worth doing, and I think you'll definitely be missing a trend if you don't look into it and you just think I'm just going to put my event on hold for live to come back. Because again, I think people, even if live events can come back, let's say in 6 months, people might still be quite concerned to attend large gatherings or even just to get on the tube to attend an event. I think hybrid is definitely worth keeping in mind. And again, you're opening up your audience reach to people globally who, like Dean just said, who might not want to travel from New York or from America. And again, linking in with sustainability is so much more sustainable. So there we are. The third trend we can absolutely expect to see. Sustainability is becoming a necessity. And again, I think it's another buzzword of 2021. There's been so much talk at the moment with sustainability and how much more sustainable virtual and hybrid events are. Dean, I know you've got a massive passion for sustainability. Did you want to take this one?
Yeah, so I think just this year, or 2020, proved to be a real roller coaster when it comes to sustainability in general. So you had America pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement. You had the massive announcements of money that was saved by people like Amazon by not flying their staff to in-person meetings. And I'm talking like $1 billion because of the virus and because of various lockdowns. And those things are starting to show that actually focusing on sustainability can be beneficial to you as a company as well as the world. So there's a few things that you need to think about. Obviously, like a lot of events do things like offsetting their carbon when they're in person. They do things like recyclable branding and badges and things like that. But if you're thinking, how much of my audience needs to be there in person and how much of my audience can be there virtually, it's and somebody's just shouted, Celine, hello Celine, Biden has already returned the US to the Paris Accords. He has, and we're all very grateful for that, I think. But yes, there are things that you need to think about. These are things that consumers and event visitors are worried about now. And if you're showing that you are being concerned about the same things that your audience are, you are offering them ways of engaging with you and your content that are in line with their beliefs and their hopes, it means that you can not omit anyone from your content. You're not losing revenue by offering a virtual offering as opposed to an in-person. You're just opening up the people that you can engage with. That's the way I've always seen it. And I think, I mean, there was a point on the last slide we didn't really touch on, but you've got a tech stack now. If you're an event company, you've got a virtual provider, you've got various tools that you're using to engage with people in digital events. I mean, a shout out to the guys at CircData that we spoke to recently, Ree. Their hybrid offering is amazing. It allows people to engage both live in person and virtually online through the app. And I mean, things like that, if you don't already have them, you need to invest in them this year because they're only going to get bigger and stronger. And things like that will save you money as well. So why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, going back to sustainability, that, like you said, there's so many things that you can do to make it sustainable. And if you think back to live events, which feels like years ago, if you think when you went, you'd probably get given a brochure and then maybe a leaflet and then maybe a map and then like goodie bags, which at the end of the day, we probably all chuck. So have a think when things do go back to live, just think about your sustainability because it is a massive concern. And people are still now thinking, you know, there's ways we can reduce it. And like it says there, 90% of event organisers have adopted e-tickets in 2020. So again, this is an unnecessary paper that we just don't need to be using. So that's a really good way of introducing sustainability. And I guess the overall kind of feeling of all of these trends, one we should have included is engagement. I think we can all expect, this all links into engagement. I think we can expect to see a massive boost in engagement this year, whether that is virtual or in person or hybrid. This all links in. And, you know, last year, a lot of companies organized virtual events for the first time. They might have, you know, they might not know what they were doing or where to start. So I think this year they've kind of got the ground running. Like Dean said, you've probably got your tech stack, you've got your tech platform, you've got your tech team. So this year is going to be the year where we can all kind of boost this engagement and boost our virtual events. That's probably a trend that we missed out on this slideshow, Dean. But yeah, sustainability is massive. So don't overlook it, and to stay on top of the trends, have a cause for concern of it and think, how can you make your event sustainable? Even if that means emailing when live events are back, emailing your tickets opposed to sending them in the post, or providing recyclable products like Dean mentioned.
So we've had a question, so I'm just going to...
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I read an article about monetizing events. If a live event has a fee, what about virtual hybrids? Can you see monetizing virtual events? And would attendees pay, considering we're used to online offerings being free? What will the trend be? So that's a great question, and I'm going to start, and I know you're going to have something to say on this as well, Ree.
Yeah, definitely go ahead.
I think that anyone who is providing good content, good researched and kind of leading content that's going to help people, there's no reason why you shouldn't charge a fee for that. And there's no reason why you shouldn't charge a fee for that in person or virtually. Now, I see there being a scale. So I see an in-person ticket being £900. I see a virtual ticket being £600. And then I see there being live access to that content after the event, which would be included in those fee prices. Or you can scale up and, put additional fees to access it for 6, 9, 12 months after the event online. So I think anyone who doesn't monetize their virtual content now, I think is missing a trick, personally.
Yes, no, I completely agree with you. I think there's been quite a few articles actually about monetizing events and, can you monetize a virtual event? It's absolutely no different to getting a sponsor for your live event. Like Dean said, if you're getting great content and, not just content you've thought about at midnight when you couldn't sleep, actual research content, there's nothing stopping you from monetizing it at all. I completely agree with the way Dean was going. And I know we've had a lot of talk lately about, should it be the same cost as monetizing a live event to a virtual? But again, on demand, so many people prefer to watch things on demand, or, they might not take notes at the live stream online, but they might like to watch it back. So monetize that as well. Like Dean said, you're missing a trick if your competitors are doing it and they're going to be making money from it, and you might just be putting it out for free. Completely. That's a really good question, though.
That is a good question, and we'll be sending everyone that's viewing an invoice for this event afterwards. Thanks for that.
And was there any more questions, or should I?
Yeah, we've got one more.
Brilliant.
We've got two more. Okay, so Duncan, hi. As an exhibitor of a few virtual trade shows this year, we found it really difficult to communicate with buyers as you would do in a face-to-face event. Do you have any suggestions on how event planners can replicate a trade show floor for a virtual platform? Do you want to go first on this, and I'll follow up?
That's a really good question. Was it Duncan, did you say?
It is Duncan, yeah. Duncan.
Yeah, good question, Duncan. So I think, again, it kind of depends on what platform you're using to begin with. So I know some platforms offer you the video conferencing option. So just like this, we're speaking kind of face to face, although I can't see you, Duncan, but you have the video option. I personally don't see much difference doing that to speaking face to face in the middle of London Excel or something. I think it gives you that personal aspect. You can make eye contact, you can still use your body language, have a coffee. I don't see much difference there. So I think it just depends on the platform you use. And I recently actually went on a platform demo, I think it's 3D VR Live, where they give you the option of walking around an actual conference area, and then you can communicate via the video. So I think, yeah, it all links back to the platform, but there are a few things that can make it feel more personal, and that is the video aspect. I think, you're not just typing away to someone on something that seems like MSN, you're actually having the face-to-face conversation. What's your views?
Yeah, so I think, and I've used this analogy a lot over the last few years. When publishers started going online at the birth of the internet, because I'm that old, they tried to put their magazines online, and they put them in that really annoying format, which was literally a magazine, and you had to click to turn the pages on the website. Why are you trying to fit an old analog kind of way of engaging with people into a modern digital space where you can literally do anything? And I think what I mean by that is it isn't the same. being online isn't the same, and you shouldn't think of it as the same thing as a virtual trade show. You shouldn't think that you're going to stand on your booth and people will come to you. Just like the best people that get engagement at expos are very outgoing on their stands. They'll walk into the hall, they'll move around there, speak to people, they'll draw people onto their stands. On a virtual event, you need to put in effort to engage with people that are there. So you need to sign up beforehand. You need to be sending meeting requests to people pre-event. You need to be fully invested and engaged to get the most out of it. And as annoying as that is, because I know in the old days, a lot of people could literally just sit on the stand and get leads, and that was great. But virtual hybrid, you need to go and you need to properly make your own worth from it, basically. So that was a great question, Duncan. Thank you very much. I've had a couple more come through as well.
Oh, brilliant. And just going back to that one,
yeah,
you know, we all know Ashanti, the CEO of EventMind, she likes to say the saying, you have to be a hunter. And I think it's very true. You do need to, you know, you can't just sit there expecting people to come to you. You have to almost make the first move first when it is a virtual event. So yeah, that's a really good question, Duncan.
Right, so we've had an anonymous attendee send a question. Do you have any suggestions for platforms which allow virtual networking and or gamification tools? Do you know any good apps which can be easily customized to reflect your own branding without much tech knowledge? I'm going to answer that right now.
I was going to say, you're the tech whiz.
We totally do. And email us at EventMind and we will send you a message and put you in touch with a few people. So yeah, we do, but I'm not going to go into individual platforms right now. Okay, Diane, hi Diane. We've been quoted some fairly extortionate fees for hybrid events. So we would have to charge a fee for attendance, and we would still struggle to make money. Do you think these costs will come down in price? Yes, I do. And I think also there's ways of doing it that aren't that expensive. So it's worth looking at other options. Just like in the virtual landscape in the middle of 2020, there were a lot of people coming out that were charging frankly ridiculous fees for using virtual platforms. And in the last 6 months, those guys have all disappeared because people started to realize it was ridiculous. So hybrid, it's tricky with hybrid because sometimes you need a production studio or you need you know, green screen and AV, but generally if you've got a good venue, and I'm going to shout out another venue now, which is Business Design Centre in Islington. I mean, they've spent a lot of money in 2019 updating their AV, updating all of their tech at the venue. And I mean, if you've got a good venue, you can do it not at a ridiculous cost. So keep having a look around. And if you want to talk about that more, again, drop us an email and we're happy to have a chat with you about it.
Yeah, and I've just got a point on that. Really good question, because I think a lot of people, when they're looking at events, I think virtual and hybrid events are known to be expensive. But again, I think they're almost only as expensive as you make them. So go old school, make a list of things you definitely need. So I know some features can seem super exciting, but do you really need it? That could be bumping the cost up. And Ashanti actually spoke at IBTM recently. So check out the EventMind YouTube channel, because her whole stream's on there about how you can save money on event tech and hybrid and virtual events. So definitely check out that video because there's some really good points there. But it's going old school and making a list of things you 100% need and things that you might not necessarily need, but it sounds nice. So yeah, it's a good question.
Says, is 3D floor just a hype or 2D sufficient for live exhibitions? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think 3D is necessary. I think it's nice, but more importantly, I think it depends on your audience. And it's as simple as that. If I was putting on an esports event or a virtual event about esports, which was full of people that regularly play computer games for money, I would definitely be having a 3D floor. I'd be having all the bells and whistles. And do you know what? I'd probably try and make it look like a Fortnite map that they can run around and play with. But if I'm doing an event on diamond excavation out of East Africa, yeah, I'm probably going to stick with a 2D floor plan, right, and not make it confusing for people. Sorry if I generalised any industries there, but that's
a really good point. Yeah, a really good point. I think if you have an ongoing event for the same audience, then yeah, have a think about that. But if you have 5 events a year for 5 different audiences, just have a think. What do you think they'll benefit from? Always have the audience at the forefront of your mind. You know, you might have a massive interest of having this big 3D conference or big 3D virtual trade show, but your audience might not like it. And again, it could be affecting the cost. So have a think about what your audience want. I completely agree with Dean that everyone's different and everyone's needs are different. But again, it could be a thing that you're saving on cost.
So we've got two more questions. So James, we have prior commitments with large exhibition centres when our in-person events return in 2022. We plan to offer hybrid option, but have a genuine concern we'll be paying large venue costs that the bulk of people will attend online. Any thoughts on hybrid versus in-person percentages?
Interesting.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. Oh, I think we're going to have different views. So I know a lot of people miss live events, but I'm going to be quite honest. I personally don't miss them quite much, and I enjoy being able to attend virtually. You know, if I don't have a child, but if you have children, it's so much more convenient. You could have your children, feed them dinner whilst you're attending this event. It's so much more convenient. So I honestly think going to live events is going to be in the first couple of months when when they're allowed. I think it could be a 60-40 or 70-30. So the higher percentage being hybrid, more people attending online. But I'd be quite interested in hearing other people's thoughts as well, because I think if you're really missing live events, you know, you're probably going to go for the higher percentage for live attendance. But what do you think, Dean?
Again, I think it depends on the audience. And I think 2022, wow, that's a long way off. Like, it's not, but it seems like it is. I honestly think that, I think it depends how 2021 plays out.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's too soon to even think about that. But James, I'd actually love to have a follow-up conversation about that. So if you want to drop us an email, I think that we could probably jump on a podcast and have a chat about that.
Yeah, and also going back to monetization, if you're concerned about if let's say you've booked out the London XL, a massive place in London, obviously, and you want to make sure, you know, the return on investment is worthwhile getting the actual venue, why not provide your live attendees a bit more to your hybrid and do it at different costs as well? That's something to think about, you know, if you are looking for more attendance to your live show. Yeah,
I agree there. So right, we've got one more question from Anonymous. Hello, Anonymous. Thank you for your insightful information. You're more than welcome. Live events will be returning at some point. Yes, they definitely will. Do we have any data re international events with simultaneous interpreters? What's the trend? Funnily enough, I had a conversation in December about this. And yeah, I mean, I don't have any data on it at all, but what I can say is if you are running a simultaneous international multi-centered virtual event, then it's a very good idea to get interpreted. And there are plenty of softwares out there that are offering a really good interpretation service. It could be live or it could be AI. I tend to go away from AI at this point. This is not quite ready. And it can be quite interesting, especially if it's a technical event. But it's something that happens, something that's happened a few times last year. So don't shy away from it if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, actually.
It is. It's something that, and it's one of those things you can only do on a case-by-case basis. Like, how many zones, how many countries are you, or languages are you expecting to have visitors from? How many of those people won't have whatever your primary language is as a language they speak? And then it's just working out if it's worth the cost of having interpretation services there. Because I mean, if you're doing an event for 30 people that speak 30 languages, but 25 of them will have English as a language they speak, it's probably not worth you spending the cost of having 30 languages like interpreted. Is that the right term?
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point. And I think, again, it could be another trend we see this year. The whole diversity and inclusion in virtual events. There's been so many people that I've spoke to who may be hard of hearing, or they prefer to read instead of listen. Not many virtual events are actually offering kind of a subtitle option. So I think that's something we can expect to see, a lot more subtitles on virtual events, for just like Dean said, if you are a different language, to provide a different language subtitles or something along those lines. But that's a really good question. And in terms of data, I'm sure there's data out there, which I would love to read.
So Mike Fletcher's just sent us a message. Hi, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know you, but we might know each other. So 2022, mass testing in venues. Create a digital twin for live in-person events that offer 2 separate content streams. One you can get by attending in person, and one you can get online. Oh, somebody else has commented, and I can't see this anymore. Hang on. One you can get online. Organisers need to weigh the attendance percentages for sponsors, executive speakers. I like it. I like it a lot. A digital twin is a great idea in principle, but then you're asking your people to be 2 places at once, or to do 2 different events effectively, because if you want everything, then you have to be both there live in person and then visit it digitally as well. So I don't think it'll work.
And going back to cost as well, say you had a host. I recently spoke to Claire Forrester, a really great events host. You know, if you're going to have an events host to host the live event and the virtual event, and she's going to have to do it kind of back to back, you're going to be charging more. She's going to be charging more. So again, going back to cost, I think that's probably a good question, but I'm not sure if it's too viable unless you have the same topics, but different people speak on those topics.
Again, Mike, grab me on LinkedIn and we can follow up that, because I'd like to talk to you more about that. That's an interesting point. I think, Reid, do you want to sum up? I think that's about our time.
Yeah, of course. So if you are looking for some more kind of advice, we actually work on an unbiased and trusted basis. So if you're an event organizer looking for an event technology platform, then we provide all of this advice for you. So yeah, we're not kind of swaying towards one or the other brand or technology platform. We kind of sum up and give you the top 3 that, you know, suit your needs. So every Wednesday at 1 p.m. GMT, I actually go live on the Facebook page, the EventMind Facebook page, where we have a live podcast and we talk to industry experts. So it completely ranges from events hosts to companies who have taken their events digital, to companies who may be wary of the whole digital pivot. So yeah, come and tune in every Wednesday at 1. You'll probably learn some more, and we always talk about the upcoming trends as well. So I'm sure you'll be interested to join. Equally, if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name's just Rhianne Berry. You'll be able to find me under the EventMind staff. But yeah, I think if you're looking for industry advice, or even just to hear the upcoming news or upcoming events, we always talk about that. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to pop us a message on our socials. I'll be monitoring that for the next few hours. Or reach out to me and Dean on LinkedIn. We're always responding. And if you want to pop us an email as well, we'd love to chat more. This is something we could probably talk about for hours. So yeah, please do reach out. We've had some really great questions. So thank you all for tuning in and taking part. It's been great.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.